The world's truly legendary empires do not fall solely from the impact of outside invasions. They build incredible internal vulnerabilities that allow an invisible microscopic enemy to shatter everything. When we think of elite historical milestones, we imagine vast armies clashing on open fields. But true absolute historical destruction belongs to the masterminds of history's most devastating biological plagues. These clever and unstoppable pathogens manipulated trade routes and sanitation to wipe out entire civilizations. Today we are counting down 10 of history's absolute deadliest and most terrifying historical plagues. We will look closely at exactly how secret pathogens outmaneuvered entire legions and altered human destiny. Before we dive in, please like and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles right now. Hitting that big subscribe button helps us bring you more high-quality history videos. Do not forget to turn on the notification bell for your daily history fix. Let us start our global countdown with number 10, which takes us to the fields of ancient Greece. Number 10 is the mysterious and highly lethal outbreak, historically known as the Plague of Athens. The terrifying situation unfolded during the high-stakes Peloponnesian War against the fierce warriors of Sparta. Thousands of rural citizens fled inside the city walls for safety, creating an absolute nightmare of overcrowding. A sudden, unknown pathogen ripped through the packed streets, causing burning fevers, skin blisters, and extreme internal bleeding. The highly disciplined Athenian society completely collapsed into absolute lawlessness and despair within days. Even the legendary statesman Pericles was struck down by the mysterious disease, halting their entire war effort. Modern researchers still debate whether the ancient biological killer was typhoid fever typhus or a hemorrhagic variant. The sudden loss of one-third of their population completely shattered the golden age of Athenian democracy forever. It remains an undying global symbol of how an invisible epidemic can instantly paralyze a supreme cultural superpower. Next up at number 9 is the devastating regional onslaught historically known as the Antonine Plague. The volatile situation erupted when victorious Roman legions returned home from active military campaigns in the East. The frontline soldiers unknowingly carried a highly contagious biological weapon back into the heart of the Roman Empire. The lethal virus spread like wildfire across the vast network of trade roads, reaching the furthest frontier borders. Victims suffered from terrifying black skin, rashes, painful throat ulcers, and violent bouts of coughing. At its absolute peak, the horrific disease killed over 5,000 citizens every single day inside Rome alone. The epidemic even claimed the life of the co-emperor Lucius Verus, completely shocking the imperial court administration. The massive loss of life completely decimated the ranks of the elite Roman military forces on the borders. The entire empire's economy slumped as agricultural fields went completely to seed due to a missing workforce. Number 8 takes us to the chaotic late Roman world with the devastating plague of Cyprian. The terrifying biological crisis tore across the entire Mediterranean basin, breaking the structural stability of Rome. The mysterious pathogen caused severe diarrhea, continuous vomiting, and horrific putrefaction of the limbs. Historical texts state that thousands of people died hourly inside the capital city during its absolute peak surge. The sheer frequency of deaths completely overwhelmed the city's traditional burial systems and public sanitation lines. Citizens abandoned their sick family members in the open streets out of pure psychological panic and dread. The resulting demographic collapse deeply weakened the empire's ability to resist continuous barbarian invasion raids. It directly accelerated the chaotic historical era known as the 3rd century crisis, threatening total collapse. This legendary biological assault proved that a relentless pandemic can erode the institutional foundations of a global empire. Number 7, we look at the breathtaking and highly mysterious Mexican crisis, known as the Cocolitli epidemic. The native Aztec populations were already suffering under the heavy psychological weight of Spanish colonization. Suddenly, a highly lethal and completely unfamiliar disease swept through the highland villages with absolute fury. The mysterious pathogen caused high fevers, severe tongue blackening, and intense bleeding from the nose and eyes. Native citizens died within a few short days of showing the first symptoms, turning towns into massive ghost communities. Historical estimates suggest that up to 80% of the entire native Mexican population was completely wiped out. The sheer speed of the slaughter left families completely unable to bury their dead before catching the disease themselves. Recent DNA analysis suggests the ancient biological killer may have been an aggressive strain of enteric paratyphoid fever. This historic demographic catastrophe completely altered the cultural and political map of the American continent forever. Number 6 takes us to the vast maritime trade channels of the Byzantine Empire with the plague of Justinian. The ambitious Emperor Justinian was right on the verge of completely reconquering the old Western Roman lands. Suddenly, a devastating cargo of grain ships arriving from Egypt brought a hidden biological terror into the capital. The ships carried thousands of infected fleas nested inside the fur of common black trading rats. The resulting bacterial outbreak caused massive painful swellings called buboes to form on victims' groins and armpits. The disease killed over 10,000 people daily in Constantinople, completely reordering the city's social reality. They had to fill massive defensive towers with layers of rotting corpses because graveyards were completely full. The emperor himself contracted the terrifying disease but managed to narrowly survive the biological onslaught. The permanent loss of millions of taxpayers completely bankrupted the state treasury and halted all military expansion plans. We have reached the middle position for today, countdown of history's absolute deadliest biological killers. Before we reveal the top 5, please like this video and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles. Your daily support helps us spend more time researching these incredible historical survival stories. Leave a comment right below about which historic pandemic has shocked you the most so far on our list. Now let us jump straight to number 5 on our list of unbelievable and historic global catastrophes. Number 5 is the highly destructive bacterial onslaught universally known as the Black Death. The terrifying global pandemic traveled along the highly active Silk Road trade routes managed by the Mongol Empire. In 1347, a fleet of Genoese merchant ships docked in Sicily with dead sailors slumped over the oars. The insidious bacterium Yersinia pestis spread through the crowded, unsanitary cities of medieval Europe instantly. Victims suffered from high fevers, violent vomiting of blood, and the distinct blackening of dying skin tissue. Within 5 short years, the biological terror systematically slaughtered over half of the entire European population. The sheer scale of the demographic collapse completely shattered the ancient foundations of medieval feudalism and labor. Surviving peasants realized their labor was now incredibly scarce and loudly demanded higher wages and total freedom from lords. It remains historically recognized as the most fatal and transformative pandemic recorded in the entire history of the world. Moving to number 4, we look at the magnificent and terrifying global impact of the smallpox epidemics. The highly contagious variola virus has been one of the most persistent and lethal killers of human history for millennia. It caused millions of painful fluid-filled pustules to break out across the victim's entire physical body frame. The virus maintained an incredibly high mortality rate, systematically blinding and scarring those who managed to survive. When European explorers arrived in the New World, they carried this invisible virus directly into vulnerable populations. The native populations possessed absolutely zero natural immunity against the foreign biological agent. The resulting wave of smallpox epidemics completely annihilated entire empires, including the Incas and the Aztecs. It acted as an invisible frontline vanguard force that cleared the landscape for total European conquest and colonization. The The sheer global death toll across successive centuries makes it one of the absolute most destructive pathogens to ever exist. Number 3 takes us to the 19th century with the relentless global devastation of the cholera pandemics. The highly lethal waterborne bacterial infection first emerged from its ancient endemic home in the Ganges River Delta. As industrial steamships and global railway networks expanded, the deadly bacterium traveled rapidly across international borders. The pathogen attacked the human gastrointestinal tract, causing massive immediate fluid loss and severe dehydration. Victims would transform from completely healthy adults to blue-colored corpses within a matter of a few short hours. 6 successive global waves of the pandemic killed millions of citizens across Asia, Europe, and the American continents. The terrifying speed of the disease forced cities to completely re-engineer their public sanitation and water filtration systems. It proved with absolute finality that industrial globalization requires sophisticated epidemiological defenses to survive. At number 2, we look at the bizarre and highly lethal wartime outbreak, known as the Russia typhus epidemic. The catastrophic situation unfolded amidst the massive structural chaos of the First World War and the Russian Revolution. Millions of displaced refugees and soldiers were forced to live in freezing, overcrowded, and unsanitary trenches. The highly contagious bacterium was transmitted directly to human hosts through the bites of common body lice. The disease caused raging delirium, intense body rashes, and sudden complete failure of the circulatory system. Over 3 million citizens were systematically killed by the tiny insect vectors during the multi-year social collapse. The famous revolutionary leader Vladimir Lenin loudly warned that if socialism did not defeat the Laos would defeat socialism. The epidemic paralyzed entire military front lines, proving that social displacement can turn a basic insect into a weapon of mass destruction. Finally, we reach number 1 on our list, which takes us to the global upheavals of the early 20th century. Number 1 is the devastating and unparalleled biological onslaught of the 1918 influenza pandemic. The highly virulent respiratory virus emerged globally during the final chaotic months of the First World War. The massive movement of troop ships and crowded military camps acted as a perfect global superspreader network. Unlike standard seasonal flus, this unique strain was exceptionally lethal to healthy young adults in their 20s and 30s. It triggered an immediate massive immune system overreaction that completely filled the victim's lungs with fluid. People would wake up perfectly healthy in the morning and suffocate to death on their own blood by nightfall. The pandemic infected over 1/3 of the entire global population, killing up to 100 million people in months. In parts of India, the devastation was so absolute that entire rural riverbanks were lined with unburned corpses. Its absolute global lethality completely outpaced the total casualties of the entire First World War within a single year. These gripping narratives prove that human resourcefulness can shatter the strongest chains on Earth completely. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to Stickman Chronicles right now. See you tomorrow as we upload high-quality history videos every single day without fail.